the liquid gold.
I've been in the hobby for almost 60 years. I've used brine shrimp since I was 13 years old. I've used a few cans. I do this a little bit different than a lot of people. Those are the live shrimp in the shell.
You see how each one just going nuts for it?
And we will also show you why I use these brine shrimp eggs.
Today, with Cooking with Dean, we're doing brine shrimp.
Yay, brine shrimp, just my favorite meal for all of the baby fish. My favorite meal. So over here I've got 2 Ziss hatchers going. One has been going for about 18 hours now, because the time of the day it is right now. This one is just filled with fresh water. This is one I'm going to talk about how I set up. So I've been doing brine shrimp since I was 13, so, you know, over 60 years. Long time. I haven't done it every single day for 60 years, but I could say for the last 15 years, I've hatched it every single day except for when I'm on vacation. So basically I've switched from pop or water bottles to the Ziss hatcher. Main reason is it's heavy. I can drop it on the floor, it's not going to break. And it works. It works for me. It works for what I'm doing and how I'm doing it. How I set it up is I have a piece of rigid airline tubing that goes all the way to the bottom. And that's about the number of bubbles I'm going at. I mean, it's not huge, it's not small, it's kind of right in the middle. A lot of people will hatch this with a big air stone and blowing brine shrimp all over the place, but I think that kills brine shrimp also after they hatch, because it's basically grinding them together. Not that this isn't, but not as bad.
It's a sweet spot.
Yeah, it's a sweet spot in the middle. So what I do is I fill to about 1 inch from the top. I've never measured how many liters. Let's call it 2 liters. But
Yeah, full of the top is supposed to be 2 liters, but
So
brine shrimp are adaptive.
maybe it's a liter and a half. And first thing you got to add is salt. And you have lots of different choices. The most common choice that used to happen in the industry is regular old rock salt. Okay, this is something you get solar salt at Home Depot, 50-pound bag or 25-pound bag. I find if I use this, I have to add baking soda also. I need something to buffer the pH up. So I don't use that anymore. The reason is because Aquarium Co-Op has come out with some AZ brine shrimp salt. This has the buffers built in. It dissolves faster. It gives me the high pH that the brine shrimp needs and the salinity that I need. And I've switched to this. Now, one of the things I do with this is I pour it into a container because I find this easier than having to open the Ziploc every day. And I do open it every day. So to my, let's call it 2 liters, I add a coffee scoop, and I think we determined this is 2 tablespoons
Correct, yes.
of salt. And this is where the amount is going to vary. Now, if you have 1 tank of brine shrimp, and I do use the Co-op brine shrimp eggs, by the way. I've used lots of others. There's going to be lots of references to that later. But if you only have 1 tank that you're feeding baby brine shrimp to, you might be only need to hatch a 1/4 teaspoon or a 1/2 teaspoon of eggs. I've got 10, 11, 12, 13, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. I've got about 20 to 22 tanks that I'm feeding baby brine shrimp to. So what I do is their brine shrimp scoop that comes with the eggs, we just measured it. It holds about 1.5 teaspoons of eggs. I use 2 of those a day. And so that's about a tablespoon.
Yep.
Every day. I never do quick, accurate, or totally accurate measurements, but just like that. So salt's in, eggs are in, top goes on, air goes in, starts bubbling. 36 hours from now, we're going to harvest that, and we're going to have billions. Do you think it's billions? I think it might be in...
It's some number no one can count.
I think it's in the millions, isn't it?
Probably.
It could be billions or millions of baby brine shrimp, which all the fish just love to eat. And one other thing I do, now the room is about 78 degrees. I don't use a heater.
What temperature was that water to start with from out of the tap? Whatever it is?
Yeah, just regular tap water, no dechlorinator.
Do you make it super cold, super warm, or you just turn it on?
I just turn the cold on and take it.
Okay.
I never measure the temperature.
A little colder in the winter, a little warmer in the summer.
And if your water only has chlorine in it, that chlorine is only going to help soften the shell of the egg. It'll be gone by the time the brine shrimp are hatching. If it has chloramine, then you got to go through some other steps and make sure that chloramine is not killing the shell.
I find you just make 5-gallon buckets of water, dip that thing in for your water,
Yes.
and then add the salt and all that.
Right.
That's the same room as your fish room.
So
or same temp.
I don't use no heater. I do have a light, and I just for collecting I move it down near the bottom. During the day, it's on the side of the thing. And is that producing any heat? Not really.
Yeah, an LED doesn't do that much.
It's not even hot, so yeah. And that's it. We're gonna wait for 36 hours. We'll come back. We'll harvest this and show you feeding. And we will also show you why I use these brine shrimp eggs. And I've used a lot. I think I counted those cans the other day, and there's over 50. And keep in mind, I probably threw away the first 25 before I got the idea. So.
And you actually pay for them.
I do, yeah. And I order them. They come in a couple of days online, so yeah. I do, by the way, keep all the cans that I'm not using in the freezer. So I might buy these 5, 6, 7 a day or more. Only this can is out of the freezer, and it's in the room, but this can will be empty within 10 or 15 days. So the brine shrimp hatcher that we set up has been going for basically 36 hours now. I like 36 hours. Some will hatch in 24. Some will hatch in 48. It kind of depends a little bit on temperature. I don't heat these. What do you think the room is like?
It's warm.
78 degrees?
Yep.
Yep. So I don't use a heater. I stick my air tube down through the middle. It's designed just to sit in the bottom of the container, which we'll show you when we get to that. So after 36 hours, I'm just going to pull this out. I usually wipe it off just so I don't get salt drips everywhere. And I move the light down to here. So it's basically getting light down here. It's attracting the shrimp down.
Yeah, let's get a close-up of that of the live shrimp.
Yep, those are the live shrimp in the shell. Now, one of the things I want you guys to pay attention to is if you look at that right now, in fact, let's get the brighter light on there. If you look at that right now, there's tons of shells mixed in with those shrimp that are swimming around. Wait 10 or 15 minutes and let's come back to that. Okay, so now we've let this settle for 10 minutes. And one of the things I want to show you, especially this is about the co-op eggs, is in the middle, there's still a few shrimp swimming about. On the surface, tons and tons of eggs. And then the bottom, very few eggs and lots of live brine shrimp. And we're just going to pour those into my catching container and take them to the sink. Now, I do this a little bit different than a lot of people. I'm going to take about half the water out. I mean, I could stop with just the shrimp, but I feed the same shrimp twice today. But I only want to separate it once,
Okay.
if that makes sense. So we'll go through how I do that once we get up here, but basically right now it's just shrimp and salt water going in there. A few eggs, but if you look up here, all of those eggs are floating up there. I mean, they're like quarter inch deep.
Yeah, and there's still a few shrimp in there, but like let's say there's 500 shrimp and there's 5 million down here.
Right, exactly. So, yeah.
The liquid gold.
Yeah, it is liquid gold. I still swear by that. So. Okay, we're shutting it off. Let's take this in the other room.
The eggs float. Not very many eggs up here.
Hardly any.
Yeah, you can see, I can see like a few. Like, I could probably count, if I was being critical, I could probably count like 50 eggs.
Right.
If I really, well, maybe 100 total, which is still an insane ratio.
I've been in the hobby for, let's just say, almost 60 years. I've used lots of different brine shrimp. I've used brine shrimp since I was 13 years old, hatching it all the time. Your number one competitor is probably Brine Shrimp Direct in the United States. It's not that they don't make a good egg. They do. And some of them have really good hatch rates. You have to buy the most premium, but you won't get this type of separation with the Brine Shrimp Direct eggs. That's and trust me, I've used a few cans, so I know. In fact, there's some of these cans that can't be up there that I was using before you even had them.
Yeah, before we branded, we put it through
many tests,
a year's worth of like, are we? Because I remember at the time, am I going to buy $70,000 in brine shrimp?
Remember
that is an insane thing to think about.
And you were giving me samples, and I say, not those, not those, not those. And then these ones came along, and the separation will save you hours of time, and your tanks won't be full of baby brine shrimp. I'm just going to put a little bit of water to run this few out because I'm cheap.
Yeah, you can see a few eggs in there. The brown spots are the few eggs.
Yeah, and I'll show you where you see how many there is. So I just typically rinse them. I don't use dechlorinated water.
And that's a sieve, right?
This is a brine shrimp sieve, yeah. It's 120 micron if anybody...
They make nets, they make sieves, they make all kinds of stuff.
This is one of my favorite things with the sieve is it's a...
Okay.
What do you call this? It's a...
like an irrigation, like a...
It's used in the medical industry.
Yeah. I feel like you just squirt it and water comes out, but I don't know what the...
Yeah, it's because when you squeeze, this tube goes to the bottom.
Yeah.
And you're just pushing it out. So now I've got brine shrimp. Oh, this is what I wanted to show you. This is where the eggs would have caught, and there's hardly any in there.
I see. So they might float a little bit on the edge. Yeah. I see.
So then this gets filled with water.
Any special temperature? Because people are going to ask questions. This is the tutorial.
It's 64.5 degrees. I'm going to go grab the hatcher. I do this every day, once a day. This can go down the drain. Salt water and all. Rinse this out. Sometimes I'll take the bottom off to make sure that the water's not...
I always run water through the tube.
Yeah, because you want to make sure it's not getting clogged with salt and stuff. If you're really crazy, every so often with a bottle brush, just scrub down the sides to get any brine shrimp.
Which you should do. If you don't do, that will corrupt your hatches. That's the number one customer service thing. It was working great for 3 months. Now it doesn't work.
Yeah,
people aren't cleaning right well.
Yeah, you've got mold or whatever built up on this. Or not. Slime.
I think it's bacteria and
Slime
stuff.
or bacteria,
Yeah.
This is my newfangled thing that someone gave me for holding the bottle. But I've heard that the Co-op one now comes with leg extensions.
Yeah, they do have leg extensions included in the thing from Ziss.
This is the water that we strain the shrimp out of, right?
Okay, the original water. Yep, that we didn't just drain down.
It's going back in there. I'm going to add just a little bit of fresh water to it. It's like a water change.
Yeah.
Not a lot, just a little.
Do you worry about chlorine at all?
I don't.
Okay.
Chloramine, you would have to worry about. Chlorine, if it's not super high, I mean, ours is not super high, you don't have to worry about. And then I just stir them up. Pour about half of them in there. The rest is going to get fed. And now this will go back and bubble for the rest of the day, and then later tonight I can just pour this through the sieve and it's ready to go.
Yeah, because you've already separated eggs.
Separated, it's just brine shrimp. And if you look in there, you see so few eggs. You just hardly see any.
Yeah, and you're just a madman who feeds live brine shrimp twice a day, every day.
I do, twice a day, every day. We've got our shrimp. God, I can't even see you through that. It's so thick with shrimp. Liquid gold, right? I feed with a baster, and it's fairly painless. This is a great hatch of angels that I got.
Yeah, when you feed up here, I want to show like how it kind of hangs out in the water, and
Okay.
just because I think, you know, one is how to hatch it, but people need to understand the full benefits of it.
Okay, this would be a good tank to do that in.
So it triggers their live food response. So as they
Immediately.
dance, the fish go nuts for it.
Right.
And I don't know if we'll be able to zoom in enough to
Maybe
really
I
see
think
the
on one of the fry tanks, maybe.
how they dance around, kind of like Daphnia would and stuff.
Oh, you could probably zoom in here and see.
Yeah, it might not be the glare on this one. Yeah, now you kind of see them bouncing. And you see how each one's just going nuts for it. And when you feed a lot, they'll actually get this orange belly or pink belly going to them.
Yes, that's how you tell the babies have eaten, basically.
Yep.
So, okay, let's do the angels first since we're right there.
And so we're showing people how to do it, but I also want to highlight a little bit why. You know, you're feeding this twice a day. Why not all of these foods that you also have, right?
Oh, they get that every day too.
But why brine shrimp in addition?
So, brine shrimp is a live food. It triggers that eating response. I think it's also, they say it's super high in protein. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. But it's also super high in fiber, I think. So it keeps food going through the fish. And the fish needs food going through it to grow. And you know, when you're dealing with going from here to here in a month and a half, 2 months, that's what you need to do if you're going to operate a fish room and move fish around.
Is there any, if you didn't do brine shrimp, can you still raise all of these on dry foods?
Yes, you could. It would take you more effort, more time. They would not grow as fast. Brine shrimp, I think, triggering that need to eat, or I don't. That's not the right word. The attack. I'm attacking a live food.
The way I've always thought about it, and there's no merit to this, I think it's the difference between I'm hungry and I will eat, and we're having my favorite dinner, I'm gonna eat more.
Yeah, I'm gonna eat a lot. Yeah, exactly.
So
I've, like I said, I've been using brine shrimp for over 50 some years, and it works. And every professional breeder will use it. Everybody has also tried going without it. I've tried going without it. It's almost impossible.
Well, it's clearly just easier to not have to hatch brine shrimp. Given a choice, we would not do it.
Yeah, I've tried just frozen baby brine shrimp. You can buy it. It's expensive, I think, compared to the eggs and hatching it, and it doesn't give them that same picking it as something live.
Yeah.
Fish have that response of going after something live. So.
And so I know you've tested. It'd be fun to calculate how much brine you hatch over 50 years and be like, I've actually done 7 tons worth of brine shrimp eggs or something, but...
I was thinking about that. So, you know, on those containers in the window that we saw, or that you're going to see, I think, what are they, 11 ounces each? Something like that? I can't remember for sure.
I want to say they're like 4 ounces or 100 grams.
Grams, yeah, grams. So, and I don't know what the pound cans are. I think they're...
about 400 grams.
400 grams.
Yeah.
So I've been using those eggs since you brought them out.
Mm-hmm.
So we could go back and say...
I'm just saying brine shrimp in general, like your whole life, how much have you used poundage, you know?
Yeah.
Because there is some differences that we haven't talked about yet, like the size of these brine shrimp. Are they the bigger or the smaller ones? Because there's two different sizes you've told me you've used in the years in the past.
Well, they're not super small. They're not as small as the smallest.
Yeah.
But they're not as big as the biggest. But there's I think, at one point, I think I heard there's over 50 types of baby brine shrimp.
Okay.
Around the country. And I believe every country has brine shrimp naturally occurring.
Interesting. I didn't know that. I can believe it, though.
You know, and that must mean they have either a saltwater source of lake or ocean, you know.
And what percentage hatch did we put on the container? I think we put 90%?
Yeah, it's far more than that.
It is, because I wanted to pad our stats. I think officially they told us it's 95.
Yeah.
But based on what we're seeing in these hatches, it's more than 95?
Like I said, I've probably used 40 different brands of brine shrimp eggs.
Yeah.
Or maybe I should rephrase that. I've probably tried 40 different brands.
Yeah, I've definitely tried some where it's like, oh, I can get a pound for $8, and then you're like, but it's more eggs than it is hatched.
You can also get a pound for $70 if you buy them from a scientific.
You can get them for a few $100s even.
Exactly.
Because I've tested some of those in the past versus, and this is as close as I can get to the crazy scientific grade.
Right.
One big difference people call out, and maybe you can speak to this. People will say brine shrimp direct or some other eggs hatch faster.
You can hatch them faster with higher temperature. Some will just hatch faster. And
did you have to change the way you hatch based on these two?
No.
So you were already a 36-inch or 36-hour guy.
I've been doing 36 hours for a number of years. And if you think about it, if you look at it, I have 2 hatchers going.
One right now.
One right now.
Yeah.
There'd be a second one here. So every night I set up the second one with new salt and new eggs. Mm-hmm. Okay. So think about that. So tonight is Monday night. I set this up. Tomorrow morning is Tuesday. I settle this one.
Yep.
This one just keeps going all day Tuesday. Tuesday night I set this one up. Wednesday morning I harvest this one. 36 hours from when I set it up.
Yeah, it makes sense.
So it just becomes a cycle that you just do.
And let's explain why. Why do you go 36 instead of 24 or 18?
Because at 24, now I'm going to qualify this with, sir, at 24 you can get a hatch.
Yeah.
But at 36 I get a really good hatch.
It's like anything where we're waiting on a baby. Could come early, could come late, and it's like, well, we're waiting on 500,000 babies, and like when you hatch out fish eggs, some start hatching day 1, some are 2, some are 3, some are a little bit late on day 4.
Right. Now, here is your pro tip that I've never put on video ever.
All right.
Never, ever, ever. With one caveat. There is another brand, San Francisco Bay brand eggs, that hatch smaller, a lot smaller. But people always ask me, you know, how do you raise the baby rams, you know? And I'm like, well, I usually feed them baby brine shrimp for their first feeding and powdered fry food. There is a difference between newly hatched baby brine shrimp and hatched baby brine shrimp.
Sure. Like 12 hours worth. Yeah, however much you're going to grow.
So if I have a difficult or a tiny fish, like another good example is betas, or bettas, however you want to say it. They hatch really small. Tetras, pencil fish, hatch really small. You want to get them on brine shrimp quicker, then harvest it at 24 hours.
Now, when you harvest, do you also put them back in and continue?
Yes, because you're going to waste some eggs if you don't.
Yeah, that makes sense. Harvest the ones that have hatched.
Yep.
Keep cooking for another 12 hours.
Right. And if you want, you can just pour some of that out, let that part settle. You don't have to do the whole container, because you don't have to do the whole fish room with the tiny, tiny baby brine shrimp.
Right.
But they grow incredibly fast after they hatch.
Yeah, when I really looked into it, because I was trying to start a brine shrimp farm for the store, and it's something like they molt like 8 times a day or something.
Yeah, at first.
And that's the problem, is actually their waste is the hardest part about raising brine shrimp.
Right, and that's why I rinse them, by the way. I don't want to feed all that waste poop to the fish. So, so anyway, so that tip I've never really passed on, but yeah.
And the last thing I want to
Grab them
ask,
when they first hatch, and you're going to have a smaller shrimp.
for the home hobbyist, not the fish room breeder selling to stores, how many times should they hatch a week or something like that? Is it all or nothing? Can they do it a couple of times? And have you had times where like, oh, I only hatch on the weekends because I'm working, I'm busy?
As a hobbyist, I think you could do it twice a week. Make sure, but you can also keep the baby brine shrimp alive for a couple days.
And how do you do that? Because a lot of people ask how you do that.
Like this, you can put them. You can get a second Ziss hatcher, put the salt water and the shrimp in there, and just let it bubble. Don't have to feed them. They're going to feed on some naturally occurring bacteria and stuff. I mean, you can try to feed them, but I wouldn't, because you're just going to foul it.
I actually raised some brine shrimp in a Ziss hatcher to adult.
You can.
When I was in Germany, because I forgot I had it bubbling, and it bubbled and just went until I got back, and the brine shrimp were like this big. There was only like 30 of them.
But they grow fast.
Yeah, but 2 weeks in Germany, I come back to full-grown brine shrimp, and I was like, this is kind of a trip.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you didn't feed them that whole time?
Never fed them, never changed water. My wife didn't even know they were there. They were just bubbling in a corner for 2 weeks.
Yep. And,
Yeah.
and that's an easy thing to do. So you know, if you're a normal home breeder, you might have 1 tank of fry. I hatch about a tablespoon or 2 per day.
Okay.
You might need a half of a teaspoon in a week.
And then a lot of people ask, or I see this recommended a lot, what about keeping the brine shrimp like in the fridge? Could you put that in the fridge? And
I've tried
luck with
that. I've never had a lot of success. If you're going to go that far, get a micro or a miniature ice cube tray and just freeze it.
Yeah, I see a lot of people do it, and I think that's a good solution also.
Yeah.
But just thought I would ask, because I know people are going to ask in the comments,
Yeah.
and could I just... Because everybody, this is a labor-intensive
tried it.
process.
I mean, there's people that you'll go on eBay and you'll see these little tiny vials, and you're supposed to fill each vial with brine shrimp and water and seal it. You know, it's just like us. We need oxygen to live. They're going to need oxygen to live. So the refrigerator will slow their metabolism down, so they will last longer. But I've tried it over and over. I've never had success doing it. So I just don't do it. I mean, like, it's like if you keep trying and you get the same results.
Right.
What are you, crazy or insane? Or both?
All right, well, that's Cooking Brine Shrimp with Dean.